Alright guys, welcome to part 2 of Basic Solaris Commands and Knowledge. So let's jump right in here. We're going to check the CPU processor status on this Solaris box. So you're going to use the PSR info command. And this is just going to show you that your CPU has been online only for a couple of minutes here as I just booted up my virtual box. You can also do a PSR info-PV and get more physical information on the processor. So here it confirms that you have one physical processor, but it is virtual because we are in this Oracle VM virtual box. So the processor that it is seeing is actually the processor in my laptop. But for any normal x86 Unix type box, when you do your PV, you're going to see how many cores, how many CPUs are in this box. To check the amount of RAM in the box, we're going to use the prtconf command. However, that is a fairly long command, so we want to pipe it, which is send the command to another command, and we're going to use the command head, which only shows you the first section of the results of a command. Because the memory and RAM is in the top section, this will make a much easier screen to read and is only going to show us the top few lines. And here you can see the memory size 3 GB, which is the amount of memory I chose for this virtual box. Next, some very common interview questions would be, how do you monitor all different kinds of things on the box? So let's say disk, for example. You have your IO stat command, and this is going to show you your disk addresses, SD0, SD1, some network NFS disk types, and your CPU wait times. And the SD1 is zeros because we don't have that second virtual disk, and this just shows the amount of kilobytes and different sizes that have come through that disk. It's how you would monitor your disk input-output statistics. The next one you'd want to know is your virtual memory stats and paging, swap, free space, stuff like that. And that's going to be your VM stat command. That's going to show you your memory, your swap, your paging, your disk, and you can research all of these different columns and details easily online. This is just a rough overview just to give you an idea of the commands you would use. Next thing you'd want to monitor is your process loads. So for that, you can use the prstat command, which will show you your process loads. You can see that it's all on one screen here. And what you have is it's automatically sorting by CPU usage. So you can see the top line is going to be using the most CPU, and it'll continually change as CPU needs different processes and sends its work to different areas. So these lines will be constantly changing, and you always look at the top to see which process is taking the most CPU. And you would just do a Q to get out of there and clear the screen. Now you can also do a prstat with a -Z, capital Z, for zones. And at the bottom here you can see zone ID, and this will also show you how much CPU your particular zones are using, such as the global is obviously using the most, and zone 1 and zone 2 are hardly using any CPU at all. And you can just do Q and clear to get out of that screen again. Another command that will be very common in your monitoring tools is to monitor your network stats. That's simply netstat command. You can see the commonality here. All these commands have the word stat in them. And this can be a very daunting command here, a very long command, and it's showing you the network streams and stats and addresses. And this is multiple pages, so you can see you'd really need to grep and search for particular items that you need in here. And you could also do a netstat -S, and this will again show you a little different values here. Let's clear the screen. If you want a quick check for any hardware problems on your machine, now this is just on Solaris, you would do FMADM. For fault manager is the FM. So fault manager administration is kind of what that means. And you would just put the word faulty. if you did have any faulty CPU memory, any type that the system detected, you would then see it here. However, I know my laptop is fine. This is a virtual box. That is why this command returned no results on my particular machine. Finally, let me show you how to check memory usage of a particular process. First, let's just find a process. I just use cron because it's an easy word. So here's the cron process ID numbers, 266. So to check memory usage of that particular process, you can use the pmap command with a -x, and I'll put in the process ID 266. This should show me the memory usage of this process. And at the bottom you can see total kilobytes, which would look like about 2 to 3 megabyte if you move the decimal 3 over. And that is how you would see the total memory usage of one particular process. A very common network command you will also need, and also a very common interview question, will be how do you show your network routing table. This command is very similar across all flavors of Unix, and you're going to want to use your netstat-rn command to show your network routing table. This shows your routes and your IPs, your gateways, and such like that. Now you can also show your network speeds with the dladm command with a show dev, and this should show us the network speed of our link for this particular virtual box. And this is a virtual connection, but it is 1000 speed, full duplex. That is how you would check the speed of your particular box. Alright, let's look into packages and patches. So to see all packages on your machine, you're going to use the package info command. But you do want to pipe this to more, meaning it will stop at each page, because this is going to be a long list. And it's showing you every package that is on your machine. 3 pages, 4 pages, 5 pages, 6 pages, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. You can see you don't want this to scroll by, or you will never see any of it. This was about 20 pages worth of packages. So say you want to get some information on one particular package. You could again use your package info command -L, and you want to put in your package name. Let's just say, for example, one of them here, sunwzip is a package name. And this is going to give you detailed information about one particular package. Now you do have to have that package name in order to do this. And this will show different files, how many files is part of that package, when it was installed, and such items like that. Now when you want to add a package or even remove a package, I'm not going to do this right now, I don't have any packages handy, but you're going to use the package add and type your package name. Now this would assume that your package is already downloaded or prepared on your machine. And in the same token, if you wanted to remove a package from your machine, which I could even do here with the pkg remove sunwzip, let's see if this works. And I can always put that package back. Actually, I'm going to click no, but this was a good example to show you how to do a package remove system. And I'll click no, I do not want to remove it, just because I may need that sometime. Alright, we talked about packages. Let's talk about patches. So if you want to see an entire list of every patch on your machine, you're going to use the showrev-p, and I won't pipe that to stop it. I'll go ahead and let it scroll. And you can see long list of patches here. So if you wanted to see if your machine had a particular patch, let's say you researched an issue online and it said you need this patch on your machine to solve this issue. I'll just take the one on the bottom here for an example. So you could then use the same showrev-p, but you're going to grep, otherwise known as search, for that particular keyword, so that patch number. And it comes up because this patch is installed on this machine. If this patch was not installed, it would say this patch is not on the machine, or it would give you no output at all. Let's say you want to check the run level of your particular machine. These are otherwise known as init levels, you might have heard. Etsy init tab, those type of things. So you could use the who with a -r for run level command, which will show you the run level of this machine right at this moment. And this is run level 3, which is default for Solaris. Now Linux does have different run levels and init stages, so this is specific to Solaris. And on Solaris you would have your init 0, which would shut down the machine to OK OBB prompt. You could just use the command such as that, which I'm not going to do. And init 3 would be your default. Init 5 would power off the machine completely, and init 6 is going to reboot. And with the init 6 reboot, you could also just do a reboot command. It'll work the same way on that. Let's say you have 5 users logged into your machine and you need to do a reboot. So what you want to do is you want to tell these users that you need them to log off for a while. So I'll show you how to do a wall broadcast command, which would be sent out to every terminal that is currently open on this machine. So it's a way of communicating with every user, even if they are not local to the box. They can be remotely logged in. So the first thing I do is just create a little file with our text editor, VI. I'll just call it A, keep it real simple. And I'm going to put reboot soon, please log off. Of course, all caps to really get their attention. So now we have this file called A in our root directory, right? And we're going to use the wall command. This is going to broadcast, and we're going to broadcast the file name A to all users, -A. And you'll see this, it's going to broadcast to myself also on this screen, but if there was anybody logged in remotely or anywhere at all, they're going to see that on their screen too. See, it'll say broadcast message from root, reboot soon. So this is a way you can communicate with your users on the box. And when it's finished, I can go to root and I can just remove my A file just to keep everything clean. A way you can find the OBP level, which is kind of like your PROM level, your BIOS. Now this is a virtual machine here, so this won't be quite as accurate with the proper output that you'd see on a regular x86 box or even a SPARC based box. But you could use the prtconf command with a -v, and you can grep for the OBP section. And as you can see here, it is not giving me any results because this is a virtual box. But if this was a SPARC box, then you would get a result here showing your OBP version. Let's talk about services on Solaris 10. This was new to Solaris 10. On previous versions, your system startup would be very serial-like, and it would take one step at a time, which would result in a very long startup time. So Solaris 10 introduced layered services, which is more of a parallel way to start. It starts many different areas and starts them up all simultaneously, which is a much more efficient way to boot. So there is a different way to handle your services with Solaris 10. First off, you can just simply use your services command, and we're going to look at all the services running. As you can see, there's many services on this box. Let's look at one in particular. I'll just use my go-to common one here. Let's grep for a cron, a cron job type of area here. And this shows that the service is online for the cron job. Now you can use the service ADM command. This is to enable, disable, and restart different services, for example. So we can go disable cron, and this is a way to disable that process. Now we do want to make sure that it worked, so we're going to go back in, and this should not come up now because we've turned it off. And there we go. Again, let's go to the service ADM command, enable cron, try and start up cron, and again we're going to look at it, and we should see it come back now. And there it is. You can also do your restart command if you're just having a sticky process, a weird little issue. You can just restart it, and it's going to bring it down and start it back up again all by itself. Alright, let's talk about some notable files in Solaris now. And we'll start with the passwd. As we've mentioned in the previous video, this would store your users, So here you go with your users. Now you would also have the etc shadow file, which is kind of a partner of the passwd file. This would handle your passwords, but they are going to be encrypted in this shadow file. You can see no password unlocked for most of them, but look at this root here. This is an encryption because you don't want it too easy for someone to simply look at your shadow file and know your root password. So this is all encrypted, and that is also part of your user administration. Now we've already seen where you can go to your groups also and list your groups here. When you want to customize the logging done for this machine, you can look at your etc syslog.conf file, your log configuration, and here you can adjust and change certain variables to customize the logging for your particular needs for this machine. Another important file that you do want to be very familiar with is your etc VFS tab. This is your disk mounting table, your file mounts, and this is what is going to be referenced when the machine boots up, and it's going to mount everything in this table. You can also have NFS mounts, remote mounts, which are also in this table, and as long as that remote machine is up and running correctly, then it's going to go ahead and mount this. And if you did a DFK and you don't get your root prompt back, let's say it hangs, the first thing you think about is what's it trying to mount in the VFS tab. And the most common answer is you might have an NFS mount, which is not currently on this box, and that particular NFS server could have a problem where it is not allowing the system to mount, and that is why your DF-K could hang, because it cannot contact that last line that it needs to mount, and that could cause a problem. That would in turn have you go look at that NFS machine and see if it has any problems. Now you do have your init tab file. However, on Solaris 10, you don't really edit this directly. What you would do in this case is you would work on your init level changes using the services area, the service ADM commands and such. On Solaris 10, you would generally not edit this init tab file directly anymore. When you want to look at the ports on your particular machine, your TCP, your UDP, you're going to have the etc services file. This is another interview question you may get very often. Where is all the port information stored? How do you check your TCP ports, what's used, what's active, that type of thing. So you could cat again, which is to look at the contents of a file, and here you can get every different service and what port it's using, TCP or UDP. Of course, your TCP is a more advanced protocol, and it does require acknowledgements and such, where the UDP is a very lightweight protocol used for much simpler tasks. And finally, let's talk about cron for a minute. So cron would be such thing as cron jobs. These are like automated tasks that you can schedule at any given time, any day, any week, any month, any hour, any minute, anything like that. So in order to do that, you could do a cron tab -L, which is going to show you a list of all your cron tab jobs which run regularly. And each of these columns means a specific day, date, or time. You can research this yourself in more detail. This is just a rough overview. Now you generally do not want to edit this file directly, so you would use the cron tab -E for edit. And it's thinking, and it brings you up a little editor window, and you can then close that, and it says it was not changed. So that's how you would edit the cron jobs rather than just manually VIing that file itself. I would like to end with one little trick of a VI trick that you can use in your VI editor. And let's just look at any particular file here. Let's VI the etc services file just to look at it. Now you can go into command mode by pressing the colon, and at the bottom you see that. And you can use the set command and use number. What this is going to do is add line numbers to your VI here. Let's see what this does. And there you see you have line numbers, so it makes it easier to track a large file. You can track it with line numbers. Now I'll go back to the colon at the bottom. I'll do set again, no number, and this should remove the numbers and put it back the way it was. That's just one little trick in VI that I learned, which can be very handy. And I do not want to write this just in case. I'm just going to quit, so no changes will be made. This concludes part 2 of Solaris Basic Commands. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching.